Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's really late. I think almost half of April is gonna be gone by the time this video comes out. But anyways, welcome to my March wrap up. I was sick for most of March, but I still ended up reading 9 books and 3,318 pages, which is great. Yeah, there was like 2 weeks in the middle, I think, where I read no books because I was literally just sleeping most of the days, and trying to recover from my illness. But yeah, after that ended, like, went back to books and I was reading like 1 book a day and everything. So definitely a lot of the books were read during that last 1 week, I think. So yeah, anyways. To give you guys some stats, as I said, I ended up reading 9 books and I ended up reading 3,318 pages. My top 3 moods were emotional, mysterious, and dark. Mostly medium-paced books, some slow books also, which is surprising. I usually don't have any slow books. Yeah, mostly fiction. I read 1 non-fiction. Oh right, I did, yeah. I was trying to think which non-fiction have I read, but you'll see. My top 3 genres were fantasy, young adult, and romance. That's like very me. Yeah, all the books that I read were from my physical TBR, which I'm very proud of, because yesterday I broke my book buying ban and bought 1 book, but like I needed it, so I'll talk about that later. But I'll definitely end up reading that in April, so there's like not that much damage done. Like, it's not gonna sit in my on my shelves for months, or years. So that's my reasoning behind buying it. So anyways, my average rating was 4.0, which is pretty great. Yeah, and here is my day-to-day reading. As you can see, there was like from 8th till 18th I didn't read a single page because I was sick, and then 19th onwards it started again and I was like reading a lot. And yeah, and then I got sick again towards the end and then I got better again. So yeah, anyways, that was what my reading looked like day to day in March. Moving on to the actual books. The first book that I read in March was Even If This Love Disappears Tonight by Misaki Ichijo. This one I saw a couple idols recommending. The one I remember the most is San from 80s recommending it, so I obviously had to get it, and I loved it. It was really nice. It reminded me of like a couple Japanese movies that I've seen, and like, yeah, like it kind of reminded me of that movie I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, if anyone knows it. But yeah, like gave me those like soft and calm vibes, but also like heartbreaking and like sad and emotional. Like, yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but like, yeah, when things progress towards like the second half of the book was just, yeah, a lot. Also kind of reminded me of, what's it called, The Fault in Our Stars, which was, yeah, good one. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it if you're interested in Japanese literature, if you're interested in translated works. And I would also recommend those movies, the movie that I talked about, if you're in the mood to cry. So check it out. The next book is the nonfiction of the month. I haven't read nonfiction in a really long time, so this was interesting, but also like most of the stuff that I read in the book was stuff I already knew about, but like seeing the details about those events and also just getting more insight into how they were feeling during those moments was really nice and made me really emotional. But anyways, Beyond the Story by BTS and by Myung-suk Kang Myung-suk. Yeah, obviously had to read it as being an army. But yeah, I listened to the audiobook while reading it, and I think that really helped too. But yeah, very like I said, I knew most of the events and stuff that they talked about, but getting more details and like hearing more about how they were feeling in those times and stuff was really nice and made me really emotional. So would recommend if you're in army, or if especially if you're like a new army and doesn't know a lot about the years that since before they've been active, and like when they were trainees to up until now and stuff. So highly recommend, especially if you're in army. Okay, third book that I read was Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey. This one I wanted to pick up mainly because fangirl, and I wanted to see what kind of Delulu vibes this was gonna give me, because it's about a fangirl and the person that she's a fan of and stuff. This was okay. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said in my April hopefuls video, I don't know if it's me or if it's the books I'm reading, if it's the romance books I'm reading, but I'm not enjoying most of the romance I'm reading. Like every book I've tried, I've just not been enjoying it. So I don't know if that was the case with this, but with Tessa Bailey, it's always a hit or miss for me. So it could also be that, and like the spicy scenes in it gave me the ick. So yeah, after that I was just like skipping through those scenes. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I will try to read this again when I'm not in such a cynical mood, I guess, and see if it was me, if I was the problem or not. But yeah. I don't know what to say. Okay, the fourth book that I read, I finished this on my flight to Singapore for the Taylor concert, for the Eras tour. So yeah, I was like the entire time during my flight and like dying basically, because this was my favorite Agatha Christie book that I've read so far. This was my third book that I've read by Agatha Christie, and as you guys know, I've been reading one book by Agatha Christie every month for Read Christie 2024 challenge. And yeah, so I read I read The Murder of Roger Ackroyd for March, and this was definitely my favorite. Even though I figured out like who did it or like what happened, like just the details of it and like how they did it was very like clever and very well done. So like yeah, still really enjoyed it, and like such a unique way of storytelling and like writing style and stuff. So yeah, highly recommend if you're into mysteries and if you wanna start out with Agatha Christie books but don't know where to start. Highly recommend this. And yeah, just like this is I think the third book in the Poirot series, so maybe you could just start like from the beginning. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, this is the fourth book in the series, but you don't really have to read it in order, so which is what I was told. So you could check this out if you're interested. But yeah, one of my favorites. I literally, for Agatha Christie, the only one I'd heard of before this was And Then There Were None, which is why I read that first. But I enjoy this way more, and I don't know why. Maybe in the Christie world it's talked about a lot, but like I hadn't ever heard of this until I started, looking into Christie's books. So if you want to check it out, you should. Okay. The next one was my favorite read of March. Insane. Crazy. Crazy. Okay. Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This was my first book by her that is not the Grishaverse. I've read all the Grishaverse books and I enjoyed them. And so obviously I was looking forward to this, but I knew that I got this when the second book hadn't even come out yet. And this book has been out since 2019. And like I bought this like maybe sometime last year. I don't even remember. But I bought this 2-3 years after it was released and the second book hadn't come out yet. So I was like, there's definitely no way I'm reading this before the second book is out. And then the book came out and then I thought, it's a duology for some reason without realizing. And so I started this. And then after I finished it, someone told me that there is going to be a book 3. So I was like, okay, that's great. So now I have to wait a couple years again before I get the third book. So that's why I am not going to read Hellbent for a while, or at least until we get a release date for book 3. I'm not going to read that because I heard that one, it's like got a cliffhanger or like something that is going to make the waiting game really hard. But this one ends on like not a cliffhanger. Like I know what's coming kind of, and so it's a good point to stop at. And yeah, I did hear though that Hellbent starts right after this book ends, like there's no waiting, so it gets confusing if you take a while before starting the second book. But I annotated it, so I'm just going to go through the annotations to remind myself of everything that happened in this book so that I can start Hellbent and not have to, remind myself of all the plot points from this one. So yeah, anyways, this was very, very good, but make sure to check trigger warnings before you read it. I was very shocked by some of the contents in this, and like I feel like nobody has really talked about the trigger warnings, but go check them out before. I wish I had known about the trigger warnings before I read it. Yeah, there's very graphic details of some things in this. So yeah, and if you can't find the trigger warnings, DM me or something, message or comment in this and I will put them out on my video. But yeah, but besides that, fantastic book, my favorite book of March. I loved the Dark Academia vibes. I loved the ghosts thing. Just I loved Alex, I loved Darlington, I loved what's her name, oh my god, what's her name, the redhead girl, what's her name, wow, why can't I remember her name? Dawes? Yes, Dawes. Yeah, I loved Dawes also, and just the characters in it were great, and like the ending shocked me to my core. Like I was so just flabbergasted. Like I was just, oh my god, like what is happening? Like what? Like I did not just, yeah, the last like 100 pages or whatever, like yeah, I was just like, some of the things I did guess, but like the ending and like who it was, like the main person, I guess, was insane. And like how it all started, basically, that I did not guess at all, and like I was shocked. So yeah, highly recommend Ninth House. So after I finished Ninth House, I needed something light, obviously, after going through all of that. So yeah, I needed something light. I needed something that feels like a hug, obviously. So my next read was the Kamava Food Detectives by Hisashi Kashiwai. This was interesting. It was okay. It was like nothing special, I feel like. For me, it missed out on a lot of the emotional factor that this could have brought. And like, I don't know. I think also just the cover is a little misleading, because why did I think that the cat is gonna be a detective and gonna like solve food things? I don't know. So yeah, I went in blind, and maybe I should have read the back, because then I would not have been deceived. But yeah, I liked here the fact that they had, even though most like each story was about the customer and what they were looking for and stuff, like I liked that we still got tidbits about like the chef and his daughter and like their lives and stuff, which was nice to connect all the customers, I guess. And that was nice, but like I think just the heartwarming emotional factor that I was expecting in this was missing. And yeah, I don't know why. And especially considering people are like coming to try and find a dish that they've not had for a while, like there should be like this nostalgia feeling that should come with it, I think it was just not missing. I feel like I'm not sure if it's a translation issue or if it's like what's it called, just the writing. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, anyways, the Kamagawa Food Detectives, yeah, was disappointed. Okay, after that I got somehow in the mood for Indian mythologies again, so I ended up reading finally my first Chitra Banerjee book called The Palace of Illusions, which is, in my opinion, the book I've heard most about that is written by her. So yeah, Palace of Illusions by Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni. This was a retelling of Mahabharat, but from Draupadi's perspective. So yeah, I have not much knowledge about Mahabharat or Ramayana, to be fair. I know the basics and that's about it. So, and Mahabharat I know even less than Ramayana. So this was very, according to what I looked up afterwards and what I know from people who know way more about the epics, most of the stuff in this is like things that actually happened. Like most, if not all, are actual events that happened in the original epic, but it's just written from Draupadi's perspective. So it was nice to learn more about that. And like, yeah, I like that. Like I liked like the feminist vibes and like just, seeing, I don't even know, like just some of the lines in it were great. I like the way it was told, like the storytelling and like writing style were great, and like the sense of foreboding every time like some choices were made and stuff was really nice, especially with like the part where she learns like things that are coming in the future, and like the sage gives her advice, 3 advices of things that she should not do in the future, and like they're like really specific. And like then we go later on in the book and like we see those points come where she can make the decision and choose not to do whatever the sage advised her not to do, or like basically that. So yeah, really enjoyed reading this. This is also my book club's book for April, which is why I ended up picking it up. And yeah, very easy to read, very fast read, really flew through it and really enjoyed it. So if you are not familiar with Indian mythologies, or if you are interested in mythologies and want to branch out and go and see other mythologies, I would highly recommend The Palace of Illusions. Yeah, This was my first book by the author, as I said, not my last for sure. I have The Forest of Enchantments, so I definitely want to read that next. And that one is Ramayana, and I think Sita's perspective. So I'm excited for that because I know more about Ramayana, so like seeing parts that I know while reading it will be fun. So anyways, this was my 7th read of March. Okay. Next, the last 2 books that I read was a series, a duology that I really enjoyed. Our Dark Duet and The Sabbath Song. The Sabbath Song and Our Dark Duet. This was the first book and this is the second. This is the Monsters of Verity series by V.E. Schwab. I think this is my 7th and 8th book by V.E. Schwab. I've read the Shades of Magic series. I've read Addie LaRue. I've read Gallant and The Near Witch. And so, yeah, 7 and 8. And really enjoyed it. When I bought this book in 2021. So it's been 3 years, almost 3 years since I bought it. But finally read it. But I had no idea what the book was about. I thought there would be some music, obviously, because song and then duet. So, yeah, I didn't know what it was about. I thought it would be fantasy vibes with like music and stuff. So I was obviously intrigued. But it turned out not to be fantasy. It turned out to be dystopian, which was even better. It was still great because I love dystopian. It gives me major nostalgic vibes just because that was like in 9th grade, like 2014, the year with all the dystopian books, Legend series, Divergent, and like just all of those books, Hunger Games, and basically all of those books that just like I grew up with. And so every time I read dystopian books, which is really less now, it just makes me really nostalgic. And this series did the same. So yeah, really enjoyed it. I loved the monster system they had, like the types of monsters and like the things they do or / eat and their weaknesses and like how different they are from one another basically, and just the humans versus monsters and how like both sides of the city deals with it. And like, yeah, it was very nice. And I loved August and I loved Kate too. Badass female characters are always, I'm always gonna love them. So yeah, I loved it. I loved the series. Really, like, I was surprised by how easy it was to read. Like, I can't remember the last time I like flew through a book so quickly. I think this one I finished in like 2 sittings, and this one maybe took a little bit longer, but like it was still like really quick. Like I was shocked, and like just, yeah, very, very fun. I really enjoyed it. I loved August and Kate, as I've said, and the siblings, not the siblings, the one sibling, what's her name? The eldest sibling, whatever her name was, I forget. But yeah, loved it. And yeah, the ending was painful, but I get why. It was the only possible option in my opinion, so I get it, but it was still painful. Yeah, but it was expected. I expected it, so it's fine. Yeah, anyways, The Sabbath Song and Our Dark Duet by V.E. Schwab, book 8 and 9 of March. Yeah. So I ended up reading 9 books in March. Here are all the books that I read in March. My favorite one being Ninth House. Yeah. Okay, so that was it for this video. Let me know in the comments what your favorite book was in March, or if you have more than one, let me know. Thank you for watching this video. I will see you guys next time. Yeah.